In the spring of '93, war broke out in the heartland of Middle America. On Norfolk Southern's Illinois Division, men were mobilized. Equipment shipped in and placed at the ready. Command centers were set up.
Command Center, Brunswick, NS Division Engineer.
It wasn't brother against brother, or even man against man, but rather man against the elements. To be sure, it was the greatest battle to take place on American soil in over a century. It was the Great Midwest Flood of '93. It started simply enough.
And now, the weather outlook for the next few days is rain. Daytime temperatures will be in the 60s, nighttime lows in the 40s.
In downtown Hannibal, it's raining, as it is all over the state of Missouri, and there seems to be no end in sight. The Mississippi River is 3 feet higher than normal and still rising. If the rain doesn't let up soon, we could have problems.
That really proved to be an understatement. Mother Nature, in a temperamental mood, deluged the area with the highest amount of rainfall ever recorded. Small streams became raging torrents. Flooding became extensive and devastating. The Mississippi River, pushed beyond its capacity to accept all of the runoff, became an instrument of vast destruction. Thousands of the residents of the area were forced to flee their homes and businesses as the rising waters overran the surrounding areas. By mid-April, our main line servicing Hannibal was frequently underwater. The rising water created difficult operating conditions on this line. On April 26th, we suspended operations at Hannibal when the water remained continuously over the rail. This situation continued until May 10th, when it was judged that safe operation could be resumed. During this time, close watch was being kept on the number 3 main line at Hardin, Missouri, which was also being threatened by high water. June 26th saw the Hannibal line again threatened with unsafe conditions, and again it was taken out of service. The rain continued to fall. On July 16th, the Grand River caused our first washout at milepost S-189.3 near Brunswick, Missouri. At the same time, high water from the Mississippi threatened 4 miles of roadbed near St. Peters, Missouri. Track and bridge maintenance crews were immediately dispatched to raise the track between milepost S-27.5 and S-31.5. This track had to remain above water if we were to continue servicing our customers between St. Louis and Kansas City. 60,000 tons of ballast were used on this line between July 5th and August 3rd, resulting in service continuing uninterrupted to our customers in St. Louis and Kansas City. 4 bridges also had to be raised in order for this line to remain open. We accomplished this by installing blocking. The roadbed was raised as much as 4 feet in places to clear the flood crest. An additional side benefit of this activity was that the roadbed acted as a levee, which helped protect historic St. Peters from flooding. As the rains continued, the number of washouts increased. Additional personnel and equipment were assembled and shipped to various locations. Shot rock was hauled to Brunswick, where it was stockpiled. As the Missouri, Mississippi, and Grand Rivers reached their predicted crests on July 12th, additional Norfolk Southern repair teams were mobilized and started working around the clock. The work was performed in 12-hour shifts to prevent overwork and exhaustion. A temporary command center was set up in Brunswick to coordinate the restoration and reconstruction of Norfolk Southern's main line from Moberly to Kansas City, and to oversee the efforts to save the main line between St. Louis and Moberly. 2 additional command centers were set up in Carrollton and St. Peters, Missouri. A week of heroic effort by dedicated crews resulted in significant progress toward repairing the damage between Brunswick and Kansas City. But relief from the constant precipitation was not yet in sight. Predictions from the National Weather Service called for continuing rainfall. A second cresting of the floodwaters was predicted to be 3 feet more than the previous high. The 24-hour work schedule continued as crews worked to shore up washouts and to institute preventive measures to protect the tracks from further damage. July 24th, the rising water prohibits the continuation of work. Equipment was moved to high ground for safekeeping, and the men were sent home for some much-needed rest prior to the inevitable cleanup to come. But rest did not come for all the Norfolk Southern teams. As the situation worsened, our people helped the Army Corps of Engineers and residents of Hannibal protect their homes and the surrounding 50,000 acres of property. Norfolk Southern provided 400 side dump car loads of sand and stone to assist in this effort. At the same time, the temporary command center at Brunswick was moved to Moberly to avoid the growing deluge. The command center at Carrollton was also moved from the track supervisor's office to a local motel, which was 10 miles from the main channel of the Missouri River. When the motel was flooded, the command center was relocated to a Norfolk Southern trailer at the Carrollton National Guard Armory. Meanwhile, information was being gathered as to the extent and nature of damage suffered during this week-long period. On July 16th, the Mississippi River at Hannibal crested at 31.3 feet, 15.3 feet above its flood stage. On July 29th, the Grand River at Brunswick crested at 34.5 feet, 18.5 feet above its flood level. The Missouri River at Miami Station crested at 32.5 feet on July 30th, 14 feet above its flood stage. Despite the best efforts of everyone, the Snai Levee broke 3 miles north of Hannibal, and the Mississippi River went on a devastating rampage. At this time, the Illinois Division had 63.5 miles of track underwater at depths up to 10 feet, and a total of 39,175 feet of track washed out. As soon as the waters receded, the Norfolk Southern team was out assessing the damage and preparing to restore service to all our customers. One of the most heavily damaged areas was at milepost S-190.2, near the junction of the Missouri River and the Grand River at Brunswick, Missouri. A channel 400 feet long and 48 feet deep had washed through the roadbed. Even worse was the area surrounding Miami Station. One bridge was totally destroyed. 1,263 feet of roadbed were washed out, 700 feet of this to depths of 70 feet. The most extensive problem facing our construction and maintenance crews was lack of materials with which to support the flood-damaged sections of roadbed. Even though fill material was stockpiled at Brunswick, all estimates indicated that it was not sufficient to accommodate the needs of this disaster. It would not be possible for us to bring in adequate quantities of fill despite our best efforts. Fortune was with us, however. An inactive rock quarry was discovered only 1.5 miles from the big hole at Miami Station. Rapid negotiations with the owners resulted in the immediate restoration of full quarry operations. Norfolk Southern mined 282,000 tons of rock from this quarry, 50,000 tons of which were sold to the Santa Fe Railroad for their reconstruction effort at Bosworth, Missouri. The main line was washed out on both sides of the quarry, leaving a 4-mile long island of usable track. 4 side dump cars were transported from Kansas City on lowboy trailers. 2 car movers were also trucked in, and we began to haul rock in both directions to repair the track. 1.5 miles of track was restored and covered with rock, making a temporary road between the quarry and the big hole at Miami Station. This road was used by the trucks as they haul material to fill in the west end of the big hole. At the same time, rock was trucked and a road constructed on a farm levee to provide access to the east end of the Big Hole. As work progressed at each end of the Big Hole at Miami Station, work was also in progress at other washed-out areas between Brunswick and DeWitt. 103 side dump cars were utilized to haul rock to other washout locations between Brunswick and Kansas City. At the peak of restoration on August 8th, we dumped 2,659 truckloads of material at various washouts. We had approximately 500 employees, 125 supervisors, and 100 contract personnel, utilizing about 200 pieces of machinery, plus 150 dump trucks with drivers on the job. Norfolk Southern set up kitchen facilities at Miami Station and Carrollton and made arrangements with local restaurants at all other work locations so that hot meals could be served 24 hours a day. Hot and cold beverages and snacks were served at all hours in between regular meals. The teams worked 12-hour shifts, but each employee was given 2 days off after 2 weeks worked on a rotational basis. We felt this was essential in order to maintain a safe, quality workforce. To facilitate accounting and bookkeeping, engineering accountant forces from Atlanta and Roanoke assisted at each command center. On August 12th, all roadbed had been restored from Brunswick to Miami Station. Since water was receding between Hannibal, Missouri and Hull, Illinois, we began restoring track between milepost DH-505 and DH-514. The work was slowed because rising tides and lake effects eroded fill material as the roadbed was being reconstructed. Work continued to progress in all areas, and by August 16th, the Big Hole at Miami Station was about 2/3 filled. 2 36-inch temporary pipes were installed in the new fill at the washed-out bridge location. On August 20th at Miami Station, the east and west construction teams met in the middle of the Big Hole. Work continued until the roadbed was brought up to subgrade. Then crushed stone was hauled in and vibrator compacted to finished grade. On the morning of August 22nd, the first train ran between Kansas City and Moberly. This was the first through movement since operations were suspended on July 8th. With trains running and work phasing down between Kansas City and Moberly, full attention turned to repairing the 9,800 feet of washed-out track between Hannibal, Missouri and Hull, Illinois. Most of this track was reconstructed while the water was still at or above cross-tie level. After many grueling days and nights, the railroad was restored on September 22nd, and traffic moved once again between Decatur, Illinois and Moberly, Missouri. Even though traffic was open on all lines, many other problems existed between Hannibal and Hull, including 3 bridges which were undermined and needed to be rebuilt. 3 permanent lines of 9-foot diameter pipe were also installed on Thanksgiving Day to provide the necessary drainage at Miami Station. Ask any of the more than 800 people involved in this massive effort, and they'll tell you, we fought a war.
A few months ago, this didn't look quite like it does today. It was completely destroyed, I guess the only word to describe it. There was a group effort put forth by the company, by the community. There was a different view. It was more than just a railroad being torn up. It was everybody working together, trying to make the thing come together and get it put back together. We just kept going. I thought that the way it was set up was done with good coordination on the part of the company, working in shifts, being fed regularly. It was well put together.
This hole was worked on for several weeks. I can recall one night in a 12-hour period. approximately 375 truckloads dumped and gained 5 feet of roadbed. Just to let you know the magnitude of the destruction that was done.
Working during the flood was a group effort. A lot of people involved, and there was a lot of hardship and a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work put in, and all worked together with teamwork. And there was a lot of hard work done, and a lot was accomplished in a short time. And during the flood, we was able to work safely by a constant lookout for each other, and all the people were safety minded, and the supervisors on down, where everybody was talking safety, make sure that everything was done the proper way, and that no one was going to get hurt or anything like that.
Day we would come in and we'd be assigned a certain area where we'd have to go work, and through the teamwork and the planning ahead, we was able to get the job done a lot faster than what everyone thought it would be done. I think during the flood, this push for safety and doing the work safely has done a lot of good, because there's more emphasis on safety than on production anymore. We put more emphasis on being safe and getting the job done.
Well, the flood in '83 was a rather, to say the least, eventful situation. Folks worked close hand in hand. The neighbors to the railroad that were sandbagging the levees, men, women, and children. We had to wait until the time was right. And when it was, while we gathered our forces together in a very demonstrative manner and with a lot of management help, real good teamwork, we finally won the battle, which we knew we would win, but it became a race and became a challenge.
We moved more than 1 million tons of rock and repaired all lines in record time. Like all wars, it was expensive, over $16 million. But unlike any other war in the history of mankind, we fought and we won. And we did so without a single flood-related injury. On July 29th, in the midst of this huge undertaking, the Illinois Division MW&S Department passed 1 year without any reportable injuries, which just goes to prove no job is so important, no service is so urgent, that we cannot take the time to perform our work safely.